Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. This is the Classified Materials series where we document and cover every entry in Halsey's journal from start to finish, analysing each entry contextually, the lore surrounding that particular entry and any tidbits of information we find along the way. This is episode 20 and covers entries dated November 17th, 2524 and February 23rd, 2525. Doctor, if you would.
November 17th, 2524. I met my lieutenant again while attending a conference at the University of Calipus. Don't know if it was the dizzying pressure that I've been under, or the chance reunion with a kindred spirit in a strange place, or something else. But I'm glad it was him.
There really isn't much more that can be said about this particular entry. This is obviously in direct reference to Jacob Keyes. And although it's not explicitly stated, it's obviously heavily implied that this was the quote-unquote chance reunion that resulted in the conception of Miranda Keyes. This may be the occasion that is forcibly recalled by the Flood proto-Gravemind as Captain Keyes was being interrogated in his final moments. But it would be an extraordinarily short episode if we left it just there, so I'm going to allow the good doctor to continue with our next entry in the journal. Doctor?
February 23rd, 2525. I had a rare chance to have a long talk with John today. He is convinced we are about to enter a new, more severe phase of Spartans training. How does he know? He told me not to worry, that he and his team were ready for anything. Part of me wants to tell all of them, show them the exact protocols they must endure for the augmentation phase. Part of me wants to offer them a choice. Would any of them refuse? There really is no choice, is there? Not for humanity's sake. Every day the insurgency grows bolder. Millions have died in defense of the outer colonies since we started this. Deja updates and runs my revision of Carver's model weekly. The results grow worse. The Spartans must be forged.
This entry makes no allusions to the fact that John is Dr. Halsey's favourite, and John being suspicious that they're about to enter into a more severe phase of their training was probably seeded by the fact that the status quo had probably been achieved for quite a while, basically meaning that they had been training and developing just as they had been for many years now, without any real curveballs or unexpected situations being thrown their way. Knowing firsthand the methods that Chief Mendez employed in training the Spartans, and knowing that he would frequently throw them curveballs to keep them on their toes, if Mendez had relaxed in this regard in any degree to basically prepare them and make sure that they were in top condition for the augmentation procedures that were impending, the Spartans would have picked up on this. It's interesting that this particular entry then goes on to say that Halsey wants to tell them about the augmentations that are on their way and how unpleasant they're going to be on the Spartans' bodies, and unfortunately how many of them may perish as a consequence. We already know from previous experience and subsequent experience that Spartans will volunteer for, well, basically suicide missions and lethal situations willingly if they feel it is their duty. And this is also one of the particular situations that I reference in regards to this particular version of Halsey's more morally grey temperament. In more recent novels and wider public opinion for Halsey more recently has been that she is just a flat-out war criminal that needs to be punished, but this particular entry references a point in the original book The Fall of Reach on page 58 to 59 that I frequently use as the reference point for why this version of Halsey is actually significantly more considerate, and yes, is having to do some very unpleasant things, but is doing it with the best of intentions. And yes, I will also admit that sometimes the worst things imaginable can be done with the best of intentions. Nevertheless, the particular excerpt I'm referencing begins following Dr. Halsey reading a report sent through from Sionri Jerome, the Chief Medical Officer at the UNSC research station Hopeful, which is in fact a reply from Halsey making a request for research information regarding experimental augmentation procedures performed on bonobo chimps. The reports that Jeremiah referenced were not reassuring. In fact, it highlighted significant risks of death with practically all of the augmentations. The excerpt reads as follows. "I'm sorry," Deja said. "I too had hoped that there would be some new process to lower the risks." Dr. Halsey sighed. "I have doubts, Deja. I thought the reason so compelling when we first started Project Spartan. Now, I just don't know. I have been over the only projections of outer colony stability 3 times, Doctor. Their conclusion is correct. Massive rebellion within 20 years unless drastic military action is taken, and you know the drastic military action the brass would like. The Spartans are our only option to avoid overwhelming civilian losses. They will be the perfect pinpoint strike force. They can prevent a civil war. Only if they survive to fulfill that mission," Dr. Halsey countered. "We should delay the procedures. More research needs to be done. We could use the time to work on Mjolnir. We need time to..." "There is another reason to proceed expeditiously," Deja said. "Although I am loath to bring this to your attention, I must. If the Office of Naval Intelligence detects a delay in their prize project, you will likely be replaced by someone who harbours fewer doubts. And regrettably for the children, most likely someone less qualified." "I hate this." Dr. Halsey got up and strode to the fire exit. "And sometimes, Deja, I hate you too." She left the observation room. This particular entry outlines quite clearly that Halsey had her doubts going forward with the augmentations. The risks were too high. Deja relayed to her the facts. And those facts were, if she didn't do it, the Office of Naval Intelligence would get someone who is less qualified and less doubtful, and the casualties to the Spartans would be that much higher. And ultimately, if the Spartans weren't produced, the knock-on effect would be immeasurable civilian losses as the outer colonies uprise and begin full-out civil war against the inner colonies. Knowing full well that the Spartans were the tool for the job, in being able to perform targeted strikes against the rebellion to stop civil war from breaking out, versus the UNSC going in all guns blazing. And we know from history that the UNSC have used nuclear devices on civilian populations, and the insurrectionists certainly don't blink an eye about rigging dirty bombs and blowing up huge civilian populations as well. This particular entry of the journal happened on February the 23rd, 2525. Just over a month later, this particular excerpt from The Fall of Reach would take place, the very same day that the augmentation programs would begin. And that is the subject of our next episode of Classified Materials, where we finally tackle the immense Project Aster, the Spartan 2 augmentation procedures, and all of the risks and losses associated therein. I look forward to you joining me on that next episode, and until next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider smashing the like button and leave a comment below on what you'd like me to cover next. Big shout out to my patrons, Spartan10148, the Metarch of my installation, Falcon, Prophet Bear, Mikhail, Sophia, and Ashley, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Scarab, Spartan0137, Anthony, Ghost, Aaron, Chris, Jacob, Sean, Element Zero, Somatic, Jordan J3, Dan, Mr. Keys, Directal, Gunslinger, Jacob, Bandmill, Echo, Evermore, Officer Cat, and Personal Devil, my diligent sub-monitors, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers. And all the other patrons who have jumped aboard to support the channel. It means more to me than I can accurately put into words. Another shout out to my Tier 0 Transcendent YouTube members, Spartan137, Jacob, Schmitty, Talia, Fenrir and Born Stella, and all the other YouTube members keeping my installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. Shout out to John for I don't fucking know. And if you want more of this kind of content, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you don't miss any future videos, and consider jumping aboard yourself as a patron or YouTube member to keep the channel alive and kicking. Thanks again for watching, take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.